Thank you again for those of you that are joining us, our attendees, as well as our panelists. We're super excited to hear about you and your business. And I actually have a bowl of rice or death right here waiting for me. I had to stop eating for a second while I did this. So I'm gonna go back and finish chowing on my bowl.
Right on.
Hi, everyone. So I'm the moderator for session 2. My name is Elaine Elefante-Liano, and I'd like to welcome you to the go-to delicacy at the farmer's market. So I have 3 panelists here who I would like them to introduce themselves, and can go in any order.
I can go first.
Okay.
My name is Jael Francisco. I'm the owner and operator of Papa's Polvoron. We make Filipino shortbread cookies, and we're currently in a couple farmers markets in San Diego. I am from San Diego, born and raised my whole life. Went to Mira Mesa High School, and now living in the South Bay over in Chula Vista, and just kind of operating and running the business from there.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Tone Anderson, and I'm one of the owners of Rice or Death. We are a food truck. We specialize in fried rice delivered in a punk rock presentation. I'm originally from the island of Guam. I've lived in San Diego on and off all my life, and have decided to make this home. So we're happy to be here with all of you. Rice is life.
Wow, I like that. And do we have our other speaker?
I don't see Dennis here. It's Dennis from All Things Ube. So no, it looks like he's not here, but if he does show up, I'll go ahead and promote him to panelist.
Okay. Okay. So how we're going to handle this session is I will ask you a series of questions, and please feel free to answer. We can rotate who wants to go first. So the first question is, why did you want to work in the restaurant industry? What moved you?
Oh, okay, I can go first. So for me, it was, it was more so finding something that I love to do and was passionate about. And that was making Polvoron, Filipino shortbread cookies. It's always been my favorite Filipino dessert. And, at the same time, I always wanted to start my own business and work for myself. And so it's actually a 2-person owned and operating business. I do this with my wife. My wife has a full-time job, but she does help me as well. For me, I do it full-time. So going really well so far. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
For me, I think, and maybe many others in the food industry, it's probably a question we ask ourselves daily. Why are we doing this? It's almost like a necessary evil in my life. I need the chaos and also the creativity and the need to put smiles on people's faces through food. I think that's where the passion comes from. I mean, if you don't really love cooking or being in the kitchen or like the chaos of a kitchen, you won't make it here. But the love and the hate go together, and you work through it and you enjoy it. In the end, your reward is just someone telling you that they taste really, really good. And that's about it for us,
I love both of your answers, because you talked about finding your passion and how you've made those connections with what you're doing. So passion is a big word and a big connection to help our students understand finding your passion. So the second question is, how did your family react when you told them you wanted to work in this industry?
So for me, at first my family was a bit surprised because, at the time when I first started, I had a a stable 9-to-5 job, and I worked in a corporate office, and now I wanted to pursue my own business and make Polvoron in my own home kitchen. And so I also happen to work as a full-time reseller, which I do on the side. So for me, it was just kind of proving to my family that, I could still make a consistent, reliable income, working for myself and doing things that make me happy. And, ultimately, they were very supportive of that. So as long as I was doing something that, I was happy and passionate about, ultimately they were supportive of that.
On my side, I think my family was more, I raised daughters as a single dad, and they've always heard my crazy ideas through whatever I was doing. But the one that was been the most consistent has been food. And so their reaction when I told them was about time, I'm cooking what I raised them on. I'm cooking the food I raised them on. And so it makes it a little bit extra special for us. They know that this is something that was in the process before it came to fruition for about 10, 11 years. And then for them to finally see it coming to life was kind of like a victory for all of us.
Wow. So time really for both of you, for your families to kind of come to acceptance of what you chose. So I think that's kind of important for our students to hear, is that sometimes our families may not like what we're doing, and sometimes it takes a little bit of time for them to come to acceptance. But you stuck with it, and I think that's an important message, that you stayed true to what your passion was. So the third question is, how did you, well, and I know that one of you has kind of answered this, is how did you decide on what to serve, and how did you come up with the concept?
Yeah, so for me, it was just pretty much my love for Polvoron. It's my favorite Filipino dessert. It always has been. I had to go with something that, I was passionate about. And, I already knew that there was Polvoron out there, but, I wanted to come out with something that was different, that had different flavors, that nobody had ever heard of or tried before. If you go to a Filipino grocery store or a bakery, you can find the traditional flavors, but, I knew I had to differentiate myself. So, I started dabbling with different flavors to make my product, stand out from the crowd. And so that's kind of how I decided that's what I wanted to serve. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
For us, it was pretty easy for us. I think we I've always wanted to do fried rice and present fried rice the way it's served in the islands, and similar to Philippines, Hawaii, Guam. In the islands, fried rice isn't a side dish. Typically here in America, I think, or in the United States, we look at fried rice as being a side dish, and typically would order it at an Asian restaurant, and it would be one of the things that you're going to order, or you're going to substitute white rice for. For us, it's the full meal. If you get that in the morning, fried rice in the morning, there's probably not pancakes right behind it, and blueberry muffins. You get fried rice, and if there's any left, you might get that for dinner as well. And they're equally as enjoyable at any time of the day. And we decided to have fun with it and take our fried rice to a different level. I think part of it came from, there's a saying that when they say people listen to music, they hear color. When I eat food, I hear music. And when I think about what fried rice is in a dish, I always thought it to be like punk rock music. You're taking all the leftover things, kind of like what makes up the scene of punk rock, and you blend them together in this kind of ferocious, chaotic heat of the moment, and it creates this one beautiful thing. And that's really where the desire and fire comes from when we're cooking our food. We look at it like music, and that's why he has the presentation that it does. But that's what we're really cooking. We're not just cooking food that's close to home. We're also serving a vibe and connecting culture and people through food and music, really. And it's something we've done for years and centuries on this earth. We're just continuing to do that, you know?
Wow, I love that analogy, and how you both have found that passion, rice and dessert, right?
Yeah.
I
You can't go
love
wrong.
that.
You got the dream team
Can't
right
get it
here.
wrong. Yeah. So our next question is, what were some challenges you faced when you first started, and what are you continuing to find as a challenge to ensure, you know, your profit? And both of you kind of talked about this. What cultural practices and beliefs did you have to surmount to get customers to your door or to your website?
So for me, you know, some challenges when I first started, you know, for me, it was a lot of the logistical stuff to get my business off the ground. You know, for example, finding the right suppliers that I could consistently order my ingredients from, getting all the requirements needed to, you know, receive my health permit, managing my inventory weekly, just kind of staying on top of my product and ensuring that I had constant inventory in my kitchen shelves so that I can cook and meet the demands each week. And the challenges, you know, we go through are also to ensure profitability are tracking how much we make versus, you know, the expenses that we make during a weekly and monthly basis. Tracking all the ingredients that we spend on, you know, and it's tough because, you know, as a two-person team, you know, we have so many things going on throughout the week. It's really tough to, you know, wear so many different hats. And I think that's a lot of what, you know, small business owners struggle with. But I mean, you know, they make it happen. You know, that's always going to be a challenge that I believe is ongoing. But as far as cultural practices and beliefs, you know, we had to prove that, you know, we had a good product out there that people were willing to buy. You know, we had to have some traditional flavors and flavors that Filipinos were already familiar with. You know, like our classic original shortbread and cookies and cream. But, you know, like I said before, I wanted to kind of differentiate myself. I wanted to come out with different flavors. We have two flavors that are more Americanized flavors, toffee and butter pecan. These aren't flavors that you could find, you know, typically on your grocery shelf, you know, at a Filipino bakery or grocery store. And so just wanted to try to come out with something different and something that can kind of capture the eye of, you know, not just the Filipino customer base, but everyone. And I also work at the South Bay Farmers Market that's located in Bonita, and as well as the Otay Ranch one. And, you know, there's a huge Mexican market that comes by and as well, and I have certain flavors that they're also very familiar with. Dulce de leche is one that's really popular amongst Latinos, and there's also actually a Mexican version of Filipino shortbread, and it's called mazapan. A lot of people always approach me with it, and so you know, just having that familiarity and just kind of going outside. You know, your normal customer base, just being able to kind of cater towards everyone. So. Yeah.
That's awesome. I also share a lot of the same things. I think one of the things I admire is that Jay, it's a two-man team, and I'm just thinking about our checklist. And if only two people had to handle that, it would be overwhelming. It gets tough because there's, you know, one day you have all the cauliflower rice you need for the day. And in one day, everybody decides to order that and you have zero for the rest of the week. And now the hunt begins. And it's things like that every day that it makes it challenging, makes it exciting. You know, imagine like doing an Easter egg hunt every day. It's kind of like the similar vibe. You're looking for the golden egg. I was told once before by these two young guys, I was working on a different project, and they told me they were going fishing, and I addressed it as fishing. And for a food truck, it's kind of like you're going fishing, but a fisherman, the way they look at it is you could go fishing or you could go catching. And I prefer the latter. I'm out here trying to perfect and refine what we do on a daily basis. Whether it's staying in stock with all of our ingredients, or it's finding the right place to pull up, or finding out or figuring out, is our marketing working? Is our Instagram enough? Do we need to buy the ads? Is our consumer really connecting to our messaging? And there's so many different lists, from the kitchen to the office. There's all these different lists. And I think one of the ways I approach handling that is I try to think of myself as throughout the years and all the many jobs that I've done and roles that I've had, I try to think of myself to be like a Swiss Army knife, if you know what that is. It's the little red army knife that you get maybe first as a young boy or girl, and you get it and it has a tweezers. Pretty much can open a bottle of wine to like make a house if you needed it in the wild. So I try to think of it from that approach, be ready for anything. Every day is a challenge, and no 2 days have ever been the same. And we try to leave ourselves as open as we can to be able to do business. If you're closed, you can't do business. So I think the biggest step in all of this is the first step is pulling the trigger, and you have to know when to go. You'll never have it all checked off. You'll never have it all figured out standing on the sideline. You got to jump right in the fire, and you got to get to work, you know? And if you believe it and you work hard enough, and as cliche as that sounds, it will be yours. It's just a matter of time. It took me 10 years for it to go from my brain, come out of my, well, I think it was always coming out of my mouth, but for me to finally take the first foot forward and put some steam into this, it was 10 plus years. Doesn't need to take everybody that long. Luckily, I had another job that filled my time quite easily. But and now we're doing this, and I'm enjoying it. It's everything I thought it would be. But the challenges are daily, and they're new. And just like Jay was saying, you know, we try to make familiar flavors of fried rice that connect to other communities, and try to think a little bit outside of the box. And we make some for the Latin community. We make some for the Asian community. There's a little bit for everybody to connect with the brand. So yeah, we share a lot of the same pains, except for two people, I have a little more help than two people. And so props to you guys for doing what you're doing, man.
Thank you. That's great.
I really love your answers in that, you know, you really talked about your belief in what you're doing, and that your grit, that you're hanging in there, that there's challenges every day, and that this comes with, you know, what you believe in, what you're doing, and so that you do whatever it takes every day. So I love the message, and how you handle your work every single day. So my next question is what advice do you have for students who want to open up their own restaurant, or just to pursue the culinary arts?
As far as my advice, you know, for somebody who's wanting to open up their restaurant or pursue the culinary arts, I mean, you know, I think most importantly, you know, do something that you love and are passionate about. You know, just what we spoke on earlier. You know, you've got to have your heart in it, and I think that is most important, because that's what's going to drive you every day to keep going. You know, there'll always be some amount of risk in pursuing your own business. I think in every business, there's always going to be some risk, but you know, just like what Tony said, you know, you got to take that leap. You know, you got to push through, you know, making hard choices to get started. And, you know, once you do, it'll lead to the things that you want to achieve. You got to look at the bigger picture in where you're at, and, you know, your goals and your dreams and what you want out of this business. If you look at the bigger picture, you're going to appreciate the journey. I think the journey is going to be, what you're going to appreciate the most. And once you get to where you want to be and you see yourself progressing, it's going to be all the worth it. Yeah, do something that you love. Make sure that it's something that you are truly passionate about, because that's definitely going to be something that is going to motivate you every day when you wake up. So.
Yeah, to follow up on that, I mean, I agree with him 100% on all of that. For me, life is about experience. It's about living. I say to people who want to cook or want to do anything, do it. It took me a lot of things to get to where I'm at. Cooking at Denny's was part of this process. I was a line cook at one time, and you don't start from the top. You start from the bottom. It's the best place to be because there's no expectation, and the road ahead is filled with lessons and learning and experience. And that's the road you need to get on to get to any kind of success, not just the food. But if you're thinking about food and you're thinking about doing it, now's the time to do it. Do all the things. Do everything that you can do. Don't just do food. Food isn't what got me. Loving food and doing food isn't what got me to this Zoom call and talking to all of you. It's doing all the things. My creative mind led me to this, but it was also my creative mind that made me took left and right turns, wrong turns, and upwards and backwards. And it sent me on this wild ride. But life is for living. And so part of that is doing all the things. So get out there and get the experience. All of it counts. Your retail experience, anytime you've engaged with the customer. Some people say, oh, I'm sitting behind a cubicle before I became a chef. Sometimes it takes some things and it takes places that you don't want to be to realize where you want to actually go. And so maybe now in all the cooking's trendy right now. And like when we turn on our TV, all we're seeing is like these cooking battles, and I could win that with this recipe I learned, and oh, this food truck race across America, how fun with my friends. And yeah, it's cool. Go do it. And then you'll realize whether you want to do it and you love it or you don't. That's the only way to learn, right? So yeah, chase life, don't let it chase you.
I really love your answers, and that you talked about the journey, right?
Yeah.
And how you got there, and it wasn't a clear path, right? And so
No.
that is such an important message to our students is that we need to get out there, and you never know where it's going to lead you. And that I loved what you said. Sometimes you go right, you go left, you may have to do a turnaround, but always it's the big picture, it's that journey that you take. And that I love those. I love how you shared that, because you do have to start somewhere, and you start with what's true to you and your beliefs, and that you have to start somewhere. And sometimes that means that you start at the very bottom so that you can learn those skills to get to where you're at now. So great answers, you two. So I'm loving that.
The key there is start. You have to start. Yeah.
You start. Yes. There's a beginning.
Yeah, there's a beginning.
Yes. Do what you love. I love that. So if you could give, so we talked about, the journey, if you could give entry-level advice about the restaurant industry, what would that be?
If I were to give some advice, on maybe somebody that's entry level, I mean, I would definitely do my research and see what's necessary for getting started in what you want to pursue. I'll just tell my story and myself as an example. So we operate our business 100% from home. It's a home-based business, and then we sell our product at the farmers market. In order to do that, you would need what's called a cottage food license, and that's something that you can easily go online and apply for. go down to the San Diego Health Department and fill out the application. And you can pretty much operate the business from home. Obviously, there are some limitations in what you can sell and make from your home. But a few examples include cookies, shortbread, obviously what we're doing, salt caramels. Sometimes you'll go to some of the local farmers markets and you'll find vendors that are selling prepackaged food already. They're not selling any hot food, but these are all prepacked and they're made from home. And so as an example, that's just, one way of being able to get into the business of doing this, ideally from your own home. But obviously there's different ways of going to what you want to do. If you want to make, pizza, or if you want to make, I don't know, pasta or whatever it may be, definitely just do your research and see what it takes to get started. And I think that once you complete those initial steps and you see what's necessary, expense-wise and getting everything started, seeing if it works and seeing what stage you're at currently, you'll be able to get there. So.
My advice, I guess, if I would say, be willing to work for nothing if you're getting in the food game. I mean, from the beginning. When I said start from the very beginning, you really, if you want to do it, you need to get your feet wet first. All parts of it count. My business is a little bit different from Jay's because they work from home. But it's where it all starts, right? There's a kitchen in your house that you grew up around. And if you loved any kind of bit of cooking, you probably spent some time in there. And if you want to take that to the next level, you got to go to the place where that's happening. And I get a lot of time, kids coming up to me and adults as well saying, hey, I've always wanted to open my food truck. We have a thing called SUHSD where you, in the industry, where you come and you cook alongside, or you kind of get to be right there. It's kind of like the ride along with the police officers. It's a very similar thing. You get to be side by side by the chef and you kind of experience literally the heat in the kitchen. And I think when I got into really knowing, like enjoying food, I had to understand it to get it to the level that it's at now, understand it from all sides, from washing the dishes to doing all the morning opening preparation work and closing work. All of it kind of plays a part eventually when you get there, and all of the responsibility is yours. You see, when you own your business, you have to know every part of your business. In order to know every part of your business, you're going to need to learn that at some point. And you have a huge advantage when you're young. You don't realize it, I think, when you're there, but you get to this level, this far in your life, and you realize that you might have misused that time of learning when you had an advantage to learn, and rent wasn't stepping on your neck, and all the life responsibilities aren't on your back. You got to do that early in your life while you have a chance. So don't be afraid to ask. You see a restaurant that you love, knock on their door. If you see a place or people doing something that attracts you, knock on that door and tell them, I will work for you for free for now and prove my worth in gold. And nothing a business owner admires more than someone with that earnest and tenacity. And a resume is good, and you send it to me, and I get it sometimes over Instagram, or we get it in our info email. Those are rad. Some people write better than others. I don't believe them until I look someone in their eyes and I let them explain why they ended up at my front door. And if it's the right explanation and with the right passion, I'm letting you in, period. That's how it works. That's how I got to where I'm at. So I just tell I mean, in the same note as Jay, like there is a process. If you look up food truck regulations and you go there on Google in San Diego, it's gonna pop right up everything you need to do to own a food truck. But getting the paperwork done is very, very easy in this part of the work. You have to really know that you want to do it, and you have to be willing to take a lot of L's, and those L's aren't losses, they're lessons. And if you learn quick and you pivot quickly, you'll be successful in this in the food truck game or anything that you do. You just got to remember that the L's aren't losses and that the L's are lessons. That's it.
I love that, you know, and I think with so much in our lives that when you're discovering where your passions and your interests are, that you really have to stick with it, right? And just be grateful for the journey. So there was a question that came from our audience, and one is did either of you have any culinary school experience or food science background?
Yeah, so for me, you know, to be completely honest, I had no culinary background, you know, prior to doing this. Like I said before, I was working a 9 to 5. I was in the corporate space, but at the same time, you know, I wasn't particularly happy with where I was currently at. And, you know, I started looking into, you know, what was going to make me happy. You know, I didn't have a background in culinary, but, you know, I loved eating. And so I kind of looked at, you know, what I wanted to do. And I started doing this as a hobby at first. I started making this in my own kitchen. And I started dabbling with it. And, you know, I just really enjoyed doing it. I love Polvoron, and it's always been my favorite dessert. And that's kind of how it started. I transitioned from my corporate job to doing this on the side while I was working. But I think ultimately it just kind of took off once I was able to give my product to friends and family. They ended up liking it. They ended up loving it. And, you know, they said, hey, you know, why not go to the local farmers market and or you know, sell these online? And, you know, I was like, okay, I'll try it. You know, if it's going to receive great feedback, I'll go ahead and continue doing this. And, you know, thankfully, it just kind of took off and it kept going. But I knew I had to have something that would stand out, because you know, if I was just going to come out with something that anyone had, I mean, yeah, with traditional flavors, I mean, you know, that would be fine. But, you know, I from my perspective, I needed something that can definitely kind of stand out from the crowd and have something that I could differentiate myself with. So, yeah.
For me, I didn't go to a trained culinary school. Like I said earlier, I cooked this for my daughters, them growing up their whole lives like it was cooked for me. And so same as Jay, it came by way of experience and being familiar with exactly what I wanted to do with food. I mentioned earlier that I don't do this alone. I also have one of my partners is a trained culinary chef, Chef Marvin. They call him, his nickname's Chino. And his list of accolades and experience as a trained professional chef goes on and on and on. And if he was here, he'd be happy to share that with you. But that's not having the experience in cooking came from growing up and loving to be in the kitchen. It didn't come by way of me actually going to a school. I'll be honest, I was very challenged in school. I wasn't very scholastically, I guess, inclined at the time, maybe distracted mostly. But yeah, it didn't stop me. I think later on in my life, as I became more curious about what goes on in a commercial kitchen, and I got a job at Denny's. It was mainly for survival, but that's when I think I started to fall in love with kind of the madness and the chaos in the kitchen. But being creative ultimately is what led me to cooking and playing with flavors and trying this and trying that and barbecuing every weekend, and those kind of things are what attracted me to wanting to do food. I think I just honed in on fried rice because I saw there was a void in the market and there was an opportunity to introduce it. I couldn't find a university that you could get a degree in fried rice for. So I proceeded with my own plan, if you know what I mean. Just like I don't think there's a university for Jay's favorite dessert. So it's not, school is a great place to start, but don't let it stop you from starting. You can get in a kitchen. There's a kitchen everywhere. We all have access in some way to some kind of kitchen to cook. So take that as your first opportunity. And I know there's a ton of programs here in the city that do focus on people who want to pursue a culinary career. And the more refined your skills, the more efficient you're going to be. And yeah, it can only help you in your journey. So good luck.
Thanks, Tom. Sorry to cut in, everyone. I just wanted to cut in real quick to introduce Dennis from All Things Ube. I am so sorry. There were some tech issues on our part, but I'm glad I was able to get you in before we ended. So really quick, Dennis, would you mind introducing yourself and your amazing eatery that I come and go see on Tuesdays?
Of course. Hi, my name is Dennis. I'm the co-owner of All Things Ube Desserts, located here in San Diego. Yeah.
Great.
So we had the other panelists real quickly. They answered a series of questions. I'm wondering if what advice do you have for students? With your experiences, what advice would you give to our students who are listening in?
Yeah, I was listening in on Tone and Jael, and I totally agree with everything they said. My advice, just from our experiences, is do your research. Don't be afraid to experiment and just kind of go at it. Just continue. I mean, before All Things Ube, we did other bakery business as well. We did the Mum D's macaroons. We did the creative cakes. So, just don't be afraid to fail and don't give up and just keep trying. To be quite honest, that's just, we didn't stop at the macaroon business when it didn't take off. We didn't stop at the cake business when it didn't take off. We just kind of pivot, experiment, and come up with different ideas until we hit that mark, and from there it would just take off.
Thank you. Well, that concludes this session. And I just want to kind of highlight some of the big things that I heard everyone say is in find your passion, as you're finding out your interest. Hopefully it would lead you to something that you're very passionate about. Honor the journey, right? Regardless of what you do, understand that all parts that you have will become a whole when you look at your finding your passion. So I thank each one of you for participating in our conference, Ube Eats. Thank you.
Thank you, Lane. Hey, thanks, guys. Good luck. I see you out on the road.
All right.
See you guys.
See you.
Cheers, guys. Rock and roll. Shoot.
You guys.
Yay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I was muted. There you go. We have session 3 in about 4 minutes.
Thanks, Margaret. See you guys.
Thank you, Tone. Have a good one.
You too.
The Google form, we are getting messages about that. In order to sign in for attendance, you need to be logged in